Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
I'm Margaret Hell, Infowars.com. I want to talk to you about robots today, specifically mall cop robots. How would you feel if you went to your local mall and found a 300-pound security robot guarding you, following you around, talking to you, basically like a glorified security camera? Now, these are on the horizon. One of them made its debut this week in China. Now, this K5 300-pound robot that walks the mall and talks to you, it's made by a company called Knightscope. This is what they had to say about the impressive security details that it has. It patrols with a geofenced area using its sensors to alert security professionals of potential threats. Each machine has a 360-degree high-def video for both day and night, thermal imaging, two-way audio and public address, an intercom to broadcast just in case you're breaking any mall rules. The robot's going to tell you to stop it. People detection, just to name a few of its attributes. Well, one of these K5 bots is currently policing a mall here in the States, as well as one in China, making their debut this week, getting us acclimated into robots actually policing us. Now, no word yet on if these robots have developed an employee union, if they're receiving benefits, if they lose power, if they misbehave or commit some sort of work infraction. But what we do know is they're being employed in malls. They're hitting now this week from a company called Knightscope. Now, these robots, they have no organic matter in them. They're not human. They look lifelike. They talk to you, but they don't actually have any human material in them. There's a company called BAE, and they're making an unmanned aerial drone, a military drone, out of organic matter. Now, this is coming out of engineers from the University of Glasgow, and these unmanned aerial drones, they're made up of organic matter grown in large-scale chemistry labs. Now, they're making these drones from the molecular level up. They're using something called a chemputer. It looks like chemistry and computer, the word combined, and it's going to be able to enable a chemical process to grow aircraft through some of their most complex electronic systems. You heard me correctly. We're talking about a piece of electronic equipment with organic matter that's actually growing it. Now, these new organic drones, they're going to be flying at a pace that would allow them to outperform any adversary missile. And we're talking about military drones that would in fact be targeting people. So machines that are part organic would be killing people in a battlefield instead of sending soldiers out. That's the ultimate goal of BAE, their systems developing this human-like drone. Now, speaking of human-like projects, stepping this up, taking robotics to childbirth for a moment. Now, there's a process that was developed called ectogenesis. It's the growth of an organism outside of someone's body, namely an unborn baby growing in what looks basically like a lab jar. Now, these artificial wombs, as they're calling them, will need an artificial uterus that supplies nutrients and oxygen to an unborn baby, and it's custom-built amniotic fluid sacs will also need to be removing waste. So they're growing babies in lab jars, taking this a step further. And they're doing this with a placenta machine. These cables and monitors, they look into the baby's heart rate, weight, and development, all as it grows outside of a woman's body. And this technology, it's removing the need for a surrogate. That's what they're claiming they're doing this, that women are not going to be needing a surrogate anymore. If women can't use their own bodies for whatever reason, we've got a lab that can grow you one in a lab jar, and this is how we're going to do it with these bioengineered babies through this process. Now, the scientists that developed this process, they've been looking at this since 2001, and these previous experiments, they were growing mouse embryos in wombs attached to placenta machines, but they've taken it up a step further, and now they're developing human embryos in these machines. This technology, they say that it's going to be ready to use in 20 years. Widely available in 30 years, and the technology experts are saying that more than a third of babies in the next 70 years will be born this way. If that's not troubling, I don't know what is. Human trials are being delayed for now, but that's where they're headed with these lab-grown babies. You don't even have to have a baby anymore if you don't want to. You can just pay a scientist to have one for you. While some robots are creating life, others are destroying it. I'm talking about Tesla, and they've experienced their first death by a self-driving self-driving car, a robotic car, coming out of Florida. A man named Joshua Brown, 40 years old, behind the wheel of a self-driving Tesla Model S car that was driving him around so he could watch Harry Potter. It actually decapitated him when the vehicle collided with a trailer truck and killed him. The car assumed it was going under a bridge. It actually went under a tractor trailer and decapitated Brown as he was watching his movie. And this is the first known death that we've had from a self-driving vehicle. Now, Tesla is saying that it would be impossible to watch a digital movie while the car was driving, that the autopilot was activated. It suggests that autopilot is safer than the average vehicle, that people really can't be trusted to drive their own cars, and that these automated cars are going to eliminate deaths. This was just a mechanical failure of sorts, a rarity, the first known death that we've had from a robot driving a car. We see the rise of machines and technology just wanting to make our lives more convenient, safer, using drones with organic matter so that people don't have to do the killing, having babies outside of wombs so women don't actually have to carry their own children, and you don't even have to drive yourself. But with all this new technology and convenience, what exactly are we giving up? Well, now in other news, a typhoon is headed for Taiwan. Category 5 storm, 200-mile-per-hour winds, one of the heaviest storms the world has seen this year so far. We're talking about a massive typhoon. They're naming it Napartak, which means warrior in Micronesian. It's the third storm this year to reach a Category 5 with wind gusts inside the typhoon that's been recorded to reach up to 201. Now, this is going to hit late Thursday evening, our time, early Friday morning, their time, and it's already churned huge waves and heavy winds on their coastline. Ground fishing boats and commercial ships and planes, they've all been evacuated. Nobody's going into Taiwan. Nobody's going out. Now, Red Cross volunteers are standing by. We know that people are getting ready to experience the after effects of this typhoon. It's also going to hit the Chinese coastline. It's going to pass through, hit Taiwan, and then head on to the Chinese coastline. Now, they're not going to receive the damage that Taiwan is expected to receive. Their wind gusts are only going to reach 115 miles an hour, but the heavy rainfall is likely to cause severe flooding, severe death in low-lying areas. In much of the country's southeastern coast, it's already saturated from record amounts of rainfall this year. So typhoon heading for Taiwan, and Red Cross volunteers are standing by. But as of now, everything's been evacuated that can be, and we know that nothing's going in and nothing's going out. They're bracing themselves for this storm to hit. I'm Margaret Hell reporting for Infowars.com.
Last week, we pointed out the globalists have declared open season on free individuals and nations worldwide. When the British left the euro, the globalists decided to go into high gear. They've now announced that Hillary won't be indicted no matter how many crimes she commits. It's time for us to take our matters into our own hands. The globalist warfare model is siege. It wants to make us dependent. It wants to cut off our economies. It wants to be able to set up a worldwide financial crisis where there are food shortages that are already happening in most parts of the world, where they basically bring us to our knees and where we capitulate to their demands. That's why we're extending the July 4th sale right through next week, because it's all about declaring your independence from the globalists. You don't just declare your independence when you buy high-quality storable foods or water filters or shortwave radios at InfoWarsStore.com. You declare your independence when you share links of articles and videos and information from the broadcast, because there's a war on for your mind. It's a total 360 win at InfoWarsStore.com.